Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. So I got the idea to record this video after I started mapping in the Archnemesis League and really quickly came across a map mod that I wasn't expecting. This is a brand new map mod that was added in 3.17 without any real fanfare behind it, and it is of doubt. Players have 25% reduced effect of non-curse auras from skills. So I realised that this was quite a scary mod. It's something that sharply decreases the armor and evasion on characters that are scaling those with determination and grace auras, and of course is something that has higher tiers available in medium and red tier maps as well. So I thought I would quickly go through all of the maps and point out the map mods that have been added, and point out the ones that you should be pretty concerned about. Now, this doesn't mean you can't do them, it's just that when these mods come up, you just want to be aware of them. So buffs on players expire 30% faster is going to mostly be a non-event, but there'll be the odd case where it's going to be quite scary. Players have less cooldown recovery rate is something that is going to do nothing for most builds, or at least it's just going to be a small nuisance for things like your cast when damage taken Molten Shell setup and things like that. But there'll be the odd build, and I'm particularly thinking cast on critical strike builds. I'm thinking other builds that trigger spells frequently. This is going to be quite scary for you guys, so just be aware of it. Monsters steal power, frenzy, and endurance charges on hit. This one's going to be quite scary. Monsters get more benefit from charges than players do, and so I think that this one's going to be quite impactful if you are running a lot of charges. Monsters maim on hit with attacks and hinder on a hit with spells. This is going to reduce your defensive mobility when in danger, and that's something that you should just be aware of. Monsters blind on hit is much less scary than it sounds. It does mean that players will probably want more accuracy than they otherwise would, but it's not that serious a deal. Then there's a number of familiar mods, and there's nothing really else to say about the suffixes. I think there is one or two other new ones, but nothing scary. Prefixes wise, unique bosses are possessed. This one is terrifying. This is really going to get players killed if you're running maps unidentified. Of course, you will have a bit of warning because you'll encounter the unique boss and then it'll be like, oh hell, there's a ghost in that thing. Most of the ghosts, though, are pretty safe. They do make the fights quite a bit harder, but they're not ridiculous. There is one, the Tormented Martyr, but that was actually nerfed in 3.17, so it's probably not that bad. Now, here's a really significant one. Monsters gain 20 to 29% of maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. Where this is really nasty is on builds that have slow, infrequent attacks. You might find that if you're forced to dodge a boss's attacks, you're going to come back and it's like, oh, the boss is back to full life again. This will have very minimal effect on damage over time builds. Monsters have a chance to suppress spell damage is just basically a weaker version of monsters have increased elemental resistances in most cases. It's not strictly that the monsters have higher elemental resistances is always stronger, but for most players, this is just a weaker version of that mod. Monsters have a chance to impale with attacks is something to be a little bit scared of, but 25% is low. And so I'm not that fussed about it. It is a new mod to just be aware of, but it's not that dangerous. And I think that's all for the new mods that stand out. Reflector are still there, unfortunately, so you're still going to need to be aware of those and roll over them. But the main thing to take away from this is that you want to read your map mods early on. Late in map progression, you might be so powerful you don't care anymore, but early on, some of these are going to catch you and are going to get your character killed if you're not aware of them. That's all I've got. May your Varlobs have interesting results, especially when used on maps.